President.
Senator from Wyoming.
Thank you, Mr. President. As if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the en bloc consideration of the following bills. Calendar number 422, which is S 1348, and calendar 501, which is S 1890.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measures en bloc.
I ask unanimous consent that the committee-reported substitute amendments be considered and agreed to, the bills as amended be considered read a third time en bloc.
Without objection.
I know of no further debate on the bills en bloc.
If there is no further debate,
I ask unanimous consent.
The question is on passage of the bills as amended en bloc. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bills as amended are passed en bloc.
I ask unanimous consent that the committee-reported title amendment to the S 1890 be considered and agreed to, the title of S 1890 as amended be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider with respect to S 1348 and S 1890 be considered, made, and laid upon the table all en bloc.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to rise just to spend a couple of moments discussing a bill that we just passed, and it's the Wyoming Public Lands Initiative. The Senate passed this by unanimous consent. This legislation is very important in my home state of Wyoming, something we've been working on for years. The bill would resolve the management status for thousands of acres of federal public lands across 7 counties of the 23 counties in my home state of Wyoming. These acres involve what are known as wilderness study areas. These are land managed solely for preservation, even though they're not included in the National Wilderness Preservation System. Well, the Bureau of Land Management studies these areas, and they study them to determine whether they should be designated as wilderness lands, or if these lands should be returned to multiple use status. Until Congress acts, the Bureau treats all of the lands as if it's wilderness. In other words, these lands currently under study are closed off to almost every use. For the people of Wyoming who rely on access to the land to make a living and for recreation, this just doesn't work. So in 1991, now here we are, we're in 2024, but in 1991, the Bureau of Land Management released a report recommending a balanced approach for these Wyoming wilderness study areas. Specifically, the Bureau of Land Management recommended that Congress designated some of the lands as wilderness and released the majority of the lands back to multiple use. Well, here we are, over 3 decades later, the lands still remain in limbo. That's why some of our counties began to work with me on the Wyoming Public Lands Initiative. And I want to thank these Wyoming County Commissioners for their collaboration going back 9 years, back to 2015. The bill, which I'm proud to sponsor on their behalf, generally follows the recommendations of the 1991 report. It strikes a balance between protecting these special places that people in Wyoming love, while expanding the multiple use areas that our state and local economies rely upon. The bill was developed by the people who live near the land and who will be accessing the land when this bill is enacted. It has been developed really from the ground up by the people who know the land the best. And this legislation resolves a decades-old stalemate. The bill is going to increase conservation. It's going to ensure that other lands can be unlocked and for uses that are important to the people of Wyoming and to our economy. I firmly believe the people of Wyoming, not Washington, should decide how to manage these lands. So I want to thank my friend and colleague, Senator Wyden from the state of Oregon. We work closely together. We serve on several committees together. We live near each other and where we stay when we're in Washington instead of when he's home in Oregon and I'm home in Wyoming. And I look forward to continuing to work with him to get these bills passed into law and through the House and in the near future. So as I see my friend and colleague from Oregon on the floor tonight, I just want to thank him for his years of cooperation and working together as we have on the Committee of Energy and Natural Resources, and thank him for all of his consideration in allowing us to get this bill passed tonight.